And today I interview Joemer and Bernarte. He is a co-founder and head of Philippine talent for Support Shepherd. It's a headhunter based in the Philippines that connects talent here in the Philippines with employers all over the world and especially in the United States. He had the most humble of beginnings, and we'll hear in this episode the story behind how he rose from being like at a certain point homeless and at a certain point even a parking attendant all the way to being a co-founder of an international company. It's a really great story. It's a great discussion, and I hope that you guys enjoy. Thank you.
All right. Good day, everyone. This is episode 11. I'm here with Joemer, the co-founder of Support Shepherd. Right? Did I say that right?
Yep, that's
Yeah.
right. Hey, John, nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you. So we had a little conversation before we started recording, and I'm very excited for this podcast. I think it's going to be amazing. I met Joemer through one of the guests that I had before, Jackie. So Jackie and Joemer work together, and Jackie has told me a lot about you, and so I'm really excited to get to know you more and talk about the journey that you've had so far, and most importantly, really learn from you, right? Like learn as much as I can in this 40 to an hour or so interview. So why don't we start with like telling us about your journey so far? Like, what's your background? How did you start? All that stuff.
Sure. Again, thanks for inviting me here. Thanks for having me here, and it's my pleasure to be in this show. Like I've watched the other episodes, and it's it's really my pleasure to be lined up as one of the guests. Cool. So 10 years ago, I started my career as a parking attendant at
Oh,
at Makati. Like it's actually in front of Aegis People Support,
wow.
and yeah, typical story of a common employee. Uh, your contract got ended, and then during that time, I had like friends with with people from Aegis because they park there, and then one of these talent acquisition officer saw me walking like really really sad, tired, and then asked me why you look so sad, why I haven't seen you at the parking booth, why I just ended my contract. And then during that day itself, he asked me to like go like visit his office at Aegis People Support, and then he asked me to email my resume to him. And yeah, the rest is history. I started working for Aegis People Support 2011. And what's funny is before I started to work even, I told myself I'm not gonna work in the call center because I feel like people there are
There's a stigma. There's a stigma, right?
yeah,
Like in the
yeah,
country about people who work.
and I
Yeah.
felt like I don't want to speak English inside the jeep or bus, like because during that time, that was the hype of call center of the BPO industry. Like when you are in the bus or jeep, you will hear people working in the call center like talking at each other in English, and yeah, I just don't want to be part of that group. But yeah, for some reasons, well, it's a need for me to work, and during that day itself, I had no other choice but to look for other job. So yeah, I started working for Aegis People Support, and what's funny is like I thought that I am being cursed. So I was actually hired for Globe, and then almost 2 weeks after, during the training, the 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 current batch that I was part of was dissolved. And then I was
Oh, it was
like,
adult?
yeah. And then I was like, oh God, like it feels like you don't want me to work in the call center. But during the training, I was nervous because if I'm being asked, I don't want to work for a local account. because yeah, you don't want to, you don't want to be cursed in your mother language. Like it's it's more hurtful, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a little bit impersonal if it's in English because like you see that in the movies and it seems okay, you kind of get used to it. But it's just so like the word is in Tagalog malutong right? Like
The
it
PI
really
word.
yeah, it cuts deep right? Like it really cuts deep if it's in Filipino. So yeah,
Right.
I get that. And by the way, this is starting out to be a really great story, by the way, because from parking attendant to when you started, and then now co-founder of a really successful tech company, or at least a company involved in the tech, like that gap, like how, it's I'm excited. So anyway, just continue. Sorry about that.
No problem. And then um very timely because there's another account that just opened in RBC where I believe that's the same building where you were working for. Actually, you were part of the same company before.
Right, right.
And yeah, I was transferred there. I got hired there as a back office support. And then after a couple of months, I was transferred to the collections department. And because the need is I need to earn more, um, you know, the, every time people ask me what's my secret, actually it's not a secret. I'm gonna tell you this, John. It's because my situation back then was really tough. Like I was living to paycheck. We were paying debts, and that may be the reason why I was hungry to earn more. And the key to earn more back then was to get promoted. That's why I worked hard to get promoted from agent to SME uh until the team lead level before I left Aegis.
Yeah,
And yeah, as I've mentioned, you work in the same um, building before. I believe you guys are located at the second floor, right?
yeah,
Or
yeah.
third
And
floor.
it's I think we had both the second and the third floor. Yeah.
I love the sisig at the second floor, the crispy sisig.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was CC Gray. Shout out to CC Gray, or maybe it wasn't.
Yeah.
Was it CC Gray? I don't
No,
quite remember. But
it's
like,
no, it's at the pantry. Like
it's
they
just
just sell crispy sisig.
like a carinderia type of pantry, you know.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And you know, I actually I relate so much to what you said just because when I started in the BPO, I saw how much money I could make, and then I saw like there was one time when like they have the printers in a separate office, right? Like if I don't know if you remember that, like if you had to print something, you print it from your desk, and then it gets printed in the printer,
Yeah,
which is a little bit far off. So I was in the printer's office. I was printing one of the. I was already a team lead at this point. I was just printing one of the documents that I had to print, and I guess someone else used the printer and printed something. So I saw
the
what
payslip.
was the payslip, right? The payslip of a senior manager, and I saw like how much money they were making, and that's when I said to myself, like, wow, this is amazing. Like, imagine what I can do with this much money, like every month. And yeah, that's kind of how I had the same mindset. And I the sad thing for me is that I never really changed my mindset. I kept going for promotion after promotion, and even to this maybe last couple of years, it was the same grind, same motivation, same focus. So yeah, and that's why it's interesting to be hearing your story now because obviously you got to the TL level, but then something else happened, right? So yeah, continue, please, please.
I actually had the same story because that happened to me as well. And accidentally someone printed the payslip of our AVP. And like
Wow.
the name of our AVP is Chris. And Chris, I'm sorry if you know this. I saw your payslip,
Is
but
it
yeah, I
Chris
saw his
Manap?
payslip.
Chris,
No,
uh,
Chris Monroy.
Chris Monroy, okay.
Yeah. So I saw his payslip, and then I knocked at his door, and then like, hey sir, I saw your payslip. Like I want to be AVP someday. Yeah. Well, it's a good thing that we are close. So yeah, and it's it's the I believe Comp and Ben's fault for printing it using that printer. They should have printed it using their own printer, which is
The one
inside their
inside their
office.
office. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so that's my journey, the BPO industry, until I got hired, or I applied in another company, and then I was pirated in another company, and um,
So
until
what was the next company that you applied to, and why did you decide that you were gonna give up on the pursuit to become an AVP? Because when you saw that
well,
payslip, you told him you wanted to be AVP, right? But then at some point you
yeah,
resigned and moved to a different company,
yeah.
or was it still
During
a
back then,
BPO? Yeah.
yeah,
Sorry.
it's
Go
still a
ahead.
BPO. During back then in ages, so everyone knows that I'm close with our AVP, and when you're close with a senior manager or an executive level, it's either they're gonna respect you or they're gonna talk things behind your back, like call you sip sip, right? What's
Oh, okay.
amazing? What's amazing is the English word of sip sip is making connections, right? Because you're not gonna grow if you're not gonna make any connections,
Yeah, yeah, that's
and
true. That's true.
our preacher said at the church that for you have to surround yourself with people whom you'd like to you'd like to be in the future. And I surrounded myself with senior managers, with AVPs, with VPs, because I want to learn from them. And what's
Right,
amazing, because during when they're having chit chats, they still talk about work. and
right.
and I get a chance to learn and ask them what did you guys talk about, something non-confidential. And but other people like see that as a sip sip, so they talk behind my back. And I felt like I did not earn my position as a team leader. And when our AVP resigned, uh I felt like I need a new environment where I can prove myself.
Yeah,
So
that
I
happens. That happens a lot, right? And by the way, the English word for success is probably kiss ass. Yeah, but definitely making connections is not. It's not something that people should. It's something people should do actually. Like everyone should be doing it.
right.
And one thing that I learned also is that to your point is that you need to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, people who have more experience, more wisdom, so that you learn from them. Like create that environment for yourself so that you're continuously like growing, right? Like as opposed to like staying in the where you are, like going with the same people that you know and not learning anything new. So I think I can completely relate to what you're saying. And honestly for me I learned that pretty late because I'm kind of an introvert where it's
Mm-hmm.
very hard for me to like approach someone who I don't know and who I don't feel comfortable with. But I think I've learned the value of that, where it's okay, like it should be okay to approach someone, especially if your intentions are to learn and to help and to add value. And yeah, so not everyone finds it easy to approach people, especially of higher status. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
where they develop this negative way of thinking and expressing themselves by making like gossiping, chismes, and all that stuff, which is a little bit sad. And hopefully,
Yeah.
these discussions, these interviews will help educate people and kind of change that, especially for those
Yeah.
that are still doing it. Yeah.
Right. I love what you said about surround yourself with people smarter than you. Let me just fast forward a bit, and this is just a segue. In our current company, Shepherd, the kind of environment that we're building, most especially for me as a co-founder, I am hiring people smarter than me, like smarter in other areas. Because if I'm gonna hire people whom I think and obvious that I'm smarter than them, we're not gonna grow. Like that's the reason why we invested on Jackie. We invested on other staffs like not sure if you know Pammy. she's one of the foundation trainer at Aegis as well. And
Oh
because these
yeah, she's
people,
very close with
yeah,
Jackie.
that's right. So, I call them the Aegis models, right? Because you're gonna see their
They
faces
were.
in different
They
posters,
were. They were
right?
actually models in
Yeah,
ages. Yeah.
yeah. That's what I call them back then. But I reached out to these people. I actually like still keep my connection with them because I know I'm gonna learn from them. So going back, I felt like I needed that new environment, and so I applied as a team leader in Sutherland. They call it Sufferland before. So
They did. Yeah.
yeah, and I got hired. I was so stoked, excited to start, and then my direct senior manager is a woman, and that's the time that I saw a woman make an Indian cry, like a 6 foot two Indian guy make them cry, an operations manager, just because they could not like they could not read the numbers, or when it comes to meetings in the BPO, you should be prepared with why is your number like this.
Right.
She literally made that operations manager cry, and not just him, even me. So she was actually the one who hired me. Hi, Debbie. I still I still get in touch with her up until now, and we have an amazing story. Um, she was the one who hired me, but in the first 45 days of my career there, the team that I'm handling is not performing. Like, I felt like I'm worse than I was even worse than mediocre back then. So during a meeting, she told me that she doesn't know the reason why now she hired me. Like, we feel like we're wasting money on you. That's what she said,
Wow.
and it hit me. That was the week when Pope Francis was here in the Philippines, and I actually attended one of his mass, or yeah, at UST, and then during his homily, he said, "Blessed are those poor people. We should learn something from them, and that is to beg." You know, and then that time, I haven't heard anything, but I just realized, yeah, I need to beg for wisdom. That night, Sunday night, I texted my senior manager, "Can we talk tomorrow? Can you coach me? I badly need that." And then she responded, "Sure." And then she scheduled the what time, and then which meeting room we're going to use. So I was at the meeting room, and then I just asked her one thing: "What did you see in me for you to hire me?" And then she told me a lot of things, which made me realize, wait lang, parang I'm not that person anymore. What happened to me? And then be- she's known as the Miss Minchin in the office, because she's really tough. And
Yeah.
then she cried. I was already crying back then, because I felt like I needed to prove something, and here I am, doing very poor when it comes to my performance. So I feel like I was failing myself. And then suddenly she cried, and she said that she knows that a lot of people talks behind her back, calling her Miss Minchin, Godzilla, and a lot of things. And then she 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 told me this: "Kasalanan ba maging concern ako sa buong team?"
Right.
And then, because the environment back then was, they were just happy go lucky, like they just go with the flow. And she came in trying to fix that, but the people didn't like it. um and then she cried during our meeting. And then, um I just want to help, everyone, like even you. I need to be tough on you because if I'm just gonna laugh, joke with you guys, we're not gonna do well. So that hit me, and then I told her, um, starting today, gone are the days that I'm gonna be a mediocre team leader, and we're gonna help each other. Um, I'm gonna make you smile every day with with my team's performance, and then so yeah, and then the rest is history. But just to expound a little more about that, what I've done was, I handled, I spoke in my team, and then I implemented the EOP rule. Like, we're not really gonna talk Tagalog on the floor. It was tough. Like, in the first 2 months, it was tough, but until they got used to it, and even them, they they call out people when they, when other agents walk at our bay, or even team leader or operations manager would would come at our bay and then talk in vernacular. They're gonna call them out regardless if you're an operations manager or you're here in our area speaking English. And then um, after that conversation, after that meeting that I had with my senior manager, um, the next month we took over. So there were 7 teams, and then we were at the bottom. So I did not pressure my team. We just had fun. We had gesture like fist bump anytime, anywhere, and then we just had fun. And I did not pressure them. And you know what, I've applied the things that I've learned from Aegis, because still for me, one of the um, best companies that I had been with, the old Aegis, not the new wave of
I know,
Aegis, but
I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
because the kind of talents that they have developed, like, it's so amazing. So I applied the things that I've learned from there, and then uh, when you do coaching, you don't just coach you know those agents who did a mistake, but everyone, regardless if they've done great or not, so that there will be a suspense moment. What is this coaching about? Did I do something wrong, or did I do something right? So things like that.
Right.
So I applied that.
So
That's why
it's
every time
it's
we go on a
sometimes
coaching session.
like one culture. Sorry to interrupt, but one culture that people have, or at least most people have, like if there's a coaching session, like a misconception, like agents feel like, oh, I did something wrong, right? Like
Wait,
when really the foundation, or at least the entire um like the reason why coaching was created was really to like build connections and really identify the current reality and come up with action plans so that we change that reality into something better. Like that's the essence of coaching. But people don't see it that way because like they always feel like they're being called to the principal's office, right? Like something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah. So I think you were able to change that. So continue.
yeah. I
Please.
was able to change that, and after a month, we took over the number one spot until the time that I was there, and we just had fun. And when you started that kind of culture, like everyone in Sutherland is very competitive. And when you check our stat, like it's like you can, on papers, you can tell that everyone is number one. That's how competitive people are in our account back then. And that was the time that there's a transformation. uh, the, our senior manager became more relaxed because she doesn't have to boss around anymore and be mismentioned because everyone is doing well. um and I remember she thanked me because I started to be the light and salt. And yeah, that kind of culture, even the EOP environment, the EOP zone, every time there's a client, they're gonna they're gonna go to our bay and then tell the clients this is the EOP zone. So
You started a movement, man. Like you started
yeah,
something that was just for your own, like that song where like where you look in the mirror and start with yourself, right? I forget the exact song, but you start with
Manny the
yourself.
mirror.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There. So if you want to change the world, right? You start with what you can control, and it looks like that's kind of what happened, where you change. Starting with your conversation with Debbie, right?
Yeah,
And you made a decision to make a change, right? And from that decision came the EOP, and you influence your circle, your small circle of agents, which then became the influence that helped the entire team, right? Like it became the driving force behind the changes throughout the entire team, and all the way until Debbie was afforded the luxury of being more relaxed. So yeah,
yeah,
that's great. That's
and
that's
smile, and
yeah, and
smile.
smiling. Like she can finally smile. Yeah.
Yeah, and but yeah, making her smile is amazing because she's one of the most prettiest employee of Sutherland. Like she's at
Wow.
that level.
The Sutherland model,
Not
is
yeah,
she on
not
that
not that
level?
I admire her because of her beauty, but there are people that who are beautiful but they don't realize that they're beautiful.
She's
Yeah.
one of those
So
people.
yeah, she's one of those people, and then up until now, I still have connection, and I'm still friends with my team back then. And I guess, or I think you can, when you become a team leader and you handle one of the best team ever, you're still gonna keep that connection. Like you're still gonna remember them no matter what. Like you had been there for sure. You have your most favorite team ever. Like
Yeah, I
who
remember
became friends.
I remember my first team ever, which is I would consider the team that really made a mark on me. Like, cause I got promoted like I was an agent in one account, and then I got rejected for promotion, so I decided to apply in a different, more technical account. And when I got the post, the agents that I was handling, they were more tenured than me. And because it was a very technical account, they were more experienced, they knew more. And some of those agents even actually applied for the post. So it was an uphill battle, right? So I really had to earn their trust, build
Mm-hmm.
relationships with each of those agents, and it ended up being the best team I've had, and as a TL, or maybe ever. But at the same time, the most fun team. Like we would celebrate birthdays. Like the agents would create cutouts using cartolina so that we would have like birthday hats. Like it was just a fun environment, but also a very high performing environment. And I think those two things sometimes are required for each other. You know what I mean? Like mutually inclusive of each other. Where in order for you to have a high performing team, you have to have a fun team also. Like those two
Right.
sometimes go hand in hand. But
And
yeah, I get what you're saying.
and I always remember this quote that I've been telling my people back then. Where you are working is not as important as who are you working with. Like you may be working for a Fortune 500 company, but if the culture is really bad and the environment is toxic, you know, it's not gonna be healthy for you, most especially for your mental health. And I would rather work for a startup, that has a healthy culture, and the people would be the people are easy to work with. So going back to Sutherland, and then I got a call from one of my bosses in Aegis, and it was already acquired by Teleperformance. So um, they gave me an offer. It's for a team lead post, but I'm not gonna handle the team. It's more of project manager work, but it's not really a project manager. I was just doing project management for the account itself, like developing the process, um, like finding out the areas of opportunities. So I was offered that job, and then yeah, so I accepted that, and then things is going well. But I got a call again just for a couple of months, and then that call is with Pro Group. It's located at BGC as well, and it's actually a couple of floors from Sutherland, so it's in the same building. So I get to see my friends again. But the reason why I accepted the offer there, it's for an assistant manager, because I'm gonna be handling accounts for an e-commerce company. And I remember I just watched the movie Intern by Robert De Niro and Anne Hathaway, and that was the first time I had, I see the startup culture, because the story in Intern is Anne Hathaway owns an e-commerce company, and Robert De Niro got a chance to work there as one of the interns. And
He's really
I just
old and he's an intern
I
and
just fell in yeah I just fell in love with the culture, because I feel like, that kind of companies doing something very missional, like they're giving a chance to, like, someone like Robert De Niro, and so it's an old guy who just retired, but gave them a chance. And then the pizza and then the beer in the pantry, like, that's so amazing. And during my first day in that new company, we had pizza and beer with the COO of that call center, of that BPO company. And because he asked me, what bonus do you want, other than the signing bonus? I just want to have pizza and beer. That's the sign if I'm gonna stay in this company.
that's cool.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
and that
I
actually is.
remember I have a similar story. Like I joined Taskas back in 2016. Like before, Taskas is a really cool company. Their strategy is, at that point when I got hired, their strategy was to only work with startup companies.
Silicon Valley
So
companies.
Silicon Valley companies, like they don't work with like your typical AT&Ts. They don't work with those people. Like they're very selective. And then the boss there, Robert Hayes, who I admire very much, when he interviewed me, he said, like, one of the questions was, a year from now when you're back in my office, what are we gonna be drinking to? Like, we're gonna drink in your office? Beer? And then, like, yeah, why not? And like that kind of was mind blowing for me. Like I couldn't believe it because of how rigid the culture is in previous like how formal the culture is. So, and then like we would take clients up to the conference room where wine and meat, cheese is set up, and we would get drunk in in the conference room. Like that
Hmm.
was like mind blowing for me. Like I couldn't wrap my head around that
And then
kind
the
of
formal dress,
culture.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
It's
exactly. Yeah.
so you will even see, because I believe during 2016, the accounts that Taskus are handling are Uber, um, Shopify, as far as I know. But yeah,
Yeah, Uber, Shopify. There's a few more like smaller ones, like the ones who just starting to grow. Like Box. Box is pretty big now.
mhm.
What else? Like Nimble, like Elowit, like Boingo. The like yeah. So really small ones at that
These
point, but then
startups, right? Yeah.
yeah, and then they started growing, and because they were already with Taskas, as they grew, Taskas was also like growing with them because the need was getting bigger, and so it was a really good strategy actually to make that decision. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I remember our client back then, in the company that I joined with, brought a hoverboard, and then use this instead of walking at the on the floor, and then, like, these hoverboards, we're gonna use this. Yeah. And then so that was really amazing. It's like I felt like no, I'm gonna leave my dreams now. So this is the company that I want to be with already. However, there was a turning point wherein you felt like you don't want to work for a corporate company anymore. And
Right.
because regardless whether you tell them that your account is a startup company, but when you mention, oh, this is the company that I'm part of, oh, you know, the problem with the outside world is when they hear call center, they thought the only job there is a call center agent. Right?
Yeah.
Like they
Yeah,
don't
that's
even
true.
know that, yeah, there's a team leader, there's an operations manager. Then and then I remember, uh, I had a conversation with one of my friends. Oh, you're a call center agent. No, no, no. I'm an assistant manager. Oh, okay. But regardless, it's still call center. So and then, but
Same.
that was really that wasn't the turning point. The turning point was, you know, I felt empty, and I felt like I'm not happy anymore. You know, there were times wherein I was not happy anymore, but that was a different not happy anymore level. That was on a different level, and I felt like I wanted to like really search for myself what do I really wanted to do, and then um one day I was introduced. So the owner of the account, I was introduced to the one who acquired the business. It so happened that, these people, I've been following them on YouTube and on Twitter, and these are the startup founders that I've been looking up to.
Really? Wow.
Yeah,
That's
and
that's a wonderful coincidence, very serendipitous, no?
I just quit it. Like I just submitted my resignation that day. So I was rendering for 60 days, and then but I don't know where I was going to go after, after my resignation, or after that company. I still need to look for or search for myself. But I took that as a sign. A couple of days after my like my resignation, um, after my last day there, I reached out to them uh, via DM, and then asked, "Can I work for you guys?" And then they
Directly.
said, "Sure, why not?" Yeah,
So you message them, like maybe somewhere like a DM, right? And then you're asking for a job, like
yeah.
any job, or was there a specific job that you were asking for? Like,
Well, like for any job, I just wanted to be part of your company, because in the past 60 days, like I learned a lot from them, and these guys are really cool. They even sent me an MLB jersey from St. Louis. So yeah, these guys are really cool. And
are these
then
the need want guys?
the rest,
Are these the
yeah,
need
these are
want
the
guys?
need want guys.
Okay. Yeah, I checked out
Yep, that's
like
right.
right before
So
this.
it's
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
it's Marshall and John. It's Marshall and John. They're best friends, and um, we've kind of developed that relationship in the past 5 years that we've known each other, from being from being an employee working for their startup company, and until I became they call me as a friend, not employee anymore, and we get to talk about life, we get to talk about the things that we want. It's not like 80% of the time we talk about the things, we talk about life instead of work. So we kind of developed that friendship. And then 2019, um, my boss Marshall went here in the Philippines to meet us. And back in 2019, I was so addicted watching Shark Tank, and I pitched the idea to him of in the coffee shop of having an outsourcing company. Like that's my goal. That's my dream. He he bought the idea. Like he really liked the idea, and then after we go back to the US, let's work on this one. He but before he got back in the US, he already thought of a name, and that's Support Shepherd. He already bought the domain. So
You
we're
did? Wow.
yeah, he already bought the domain before even starting the business. And then few months after, it feels like nothing's gonna happen. Looks like he just bought the domain, and then he just messaged me, "Let's talk about Shepherd." And then yeah, that was last quarter of 2019. So we were brainstorming what kind of service are we gonna offer. So since it's gonna be outsourcing, who are the clients that um, we're gonna look for. So he kind of starting to reach out via Twitter on different startup founders, creating polls. We and then we got the feedback. Most startup founders are not ready to outsource, but we're still gonna push through for for the idea, whether it's not gonna be supported by startup founders. So we told each other that okay, it's just gonna be more of a side project. If you get clients, then good. If not, it's okay. And then we spoke, and then he actually that was January. He told me that let's pivot the idea from being an outsourcing to a recruitment firm, a headhunting firm. And then I'm not really used to like I rarely hear the word headhunting firm, like headhunter or headhunting. I rarely hear that from because I was not contacted by a headhunter before.
Right.
And then he pitched me the idea, and it sounds great actually. And then when we spoke with a lawyer here in the Philippines, she said that it's better than outsourcing because you're when you put up an outsourcing company here in the Philippines, you're gonna have to secure lots of government documents, lots of licenses to operate here. Aside instead of running a headhunting firm, it's just gonna be based in US. You still can operate here because your clients are there in the US anyways. So the business is registered in the US, but our the talents that we hire are from here in the Philippines. So we connect startup. So remember you mentioned when you work for Taskas, you love the environment because you only work Taskas only work with startup companies, and
Right.
that's what we do here. We only work with with startup founders, actually, with with these companies. And um, we connect them with Filipino talents because we believe that Filipino can compete in the global market.
For
So
sure. Yeah.
we we had a soft launch last March last year, and we started with our first client. It's for a friend. So they have a venture capitalist. They're a venture capitalist firm in Canada, but they own lots of businesses. So we started with a couple of businesses that they own. So we hired for an EAL, we hired for a business development representative, then we hired for customer support. We started with four of their companies, and then until um, until a lot of people heard about us on Twitter. a lot of people have been reaching out because my business partner's following list on Twitter is really huge, and like 60 or 70% of his following, which is around 20,000, are startup founders across the world. So we get lots of attention, and the typical Pinoy wherein he asked me if I can still manage like just working alone. And then like I've been telling myself, kaya pa, kaya pa. And then I told him, yeah, we should save money. And then he said, this is one thing that I learned from him. If the key for us to expand is to hire more people, then so be it. If what you're doing is just gonna keep us growing, we should not be doing that. So that's the time, because I had trust issues back then. So I don't want to hire other people, um, but I started to like to trust again, and we started to hire a couple of recruitment specialists, and then we invested on Jackie and Pammy because their salaries are on a different level. And then but just imagine the kind of value that they can bring on the table. It's really amazing.
What do Jackie and Pammy actually do for support shepherd? Just curious.
Well, Jackie is our project coordinator, so she does the project management. She kind of the face of the company right now. So, but her her experience in project management is really amazing. Like the way she coordinate between the team and the client, that makes us a world class headhunting firm, and she's
Right.
always on top of it. All right. So, and then Pami is our talent assessor, and I think one of our unique selling proposition is we don't endorse. We only endorse really top and solid candidates. Like because Pami is a certified communications coach, the applicants or the candidates will have to go through really thorough screening process.
Right.
So
I
yeah,
see.
that's what she does. She makes sure that the kind of candidate we're going to endorse are really world class, are really the top of the best of the best. So yeah. While myself, I do the sales. So yeah, March 2020, we started with our first client, and up until today, we are already towards our 150th client.
Wow, that's amazing.
So that's how fast we grew, and we're still
These are
growing.
150 unique startup companies, right? Like
Yeah,
150 different.
there are repeat clients actually. There are repeat
Yeah, yeah. I'm
clients.
sure. I'm sure there are, but the 150, they're all unique, and some of those are actually like they come back
Yep.
repeatedly for
And
more
there are
business.
big
Yeah.
names. I just can't disclose the name, but there are big names. Like the platform that they've designed, that they've made, is one of the most used platforms in the world. Like it's
this
just
is
so
this is
amazing that you
a
get to.
Canadian company.
No,
Okay, okay,
it's a
okay.
different one. But I'm not just gonna mention names, but he was the one who designed Spotify.
Oh, wow,
So
wow,
yeah, and he,
interesting.
he he's an award-winning designer. So and for me to get a chance to like work with these people, I learn a lot of things, not just from them, but even with our people. And that's why I love what you said earlier. Surround yourself with people smarter than you, like not literally smarter in all areas, but in some or most areas, right? Because you need to complement each other. You need to be the strength of your teammates' weakness. And yeah, that's I would say that I am living my dreams right now, but I always remind myself because I have to be careful as well. And I always remind myself to put myself on the ground, and that success won't get into my head, but just into my pocket, but not into my head. And and our people's pocket. But kidding aside, we just wanted to help. And when we started this company, every time we called the candidates, you got a job offer, the intensity, because these people lost their job during the pandemic, and you bringing the news that they're gonna be working again. Not just that, but sometimes their salary is gonna be it will be doubled, because we had candidates, or we had people that got hired that came from the BPO company, and how much a BPO company gets
Yeah.
versus the agent or the team leader. And there
Some
was a
house have
massive increase
yeah. Some house
from
have 80% margin. Can you imagine that? 80%
yeah. and
margin.
and I remember, this is for a graphic designer. This graphic designer applied her asking salary, and I am part of the creative industry as well. I'm a freelance filmmaker, and every time I talk to creative applicants like graphic designers, video editors, their rate is really low. Like some of them 20,000, 25,000, and then I know it's really low, and I'm gonna negotiate with the client to give them the 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 rate that they deserve. And I remember this one candidate who her asking salary was 25,000. She ended up getting 75,000 from the client,
Wow. That's amazing.
and that's what we do at Shepherd. We, you know, of course it's gonna benefit us as well, but we also think about the candidates, because first they're gonna be signing an independent contractors agreement, so it means they're gonna have to pay for their own benefits. So I have to account as well. Okay, how much would it cost them if they're gonna pay for their own benefits, if they're gonna acquire for their HMO? So we kind of add that, and then explain that to the applicants. But there are times that we just go by their asking salary, because there's already a big jump from their asking compared to what they're currently getting, because they have already considered that they're gonna pay for their own HMO, pay for their own
Right.
benefits. Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing, man. Like, it's amazing because you're on so many levels, right? Like, and I'll go through each one where I find it really amazing. Like, number one, it's amazing because you're able to live the life that you want, right? Like, live your live to your fullest potential. It's amazing because you get to work with so many great people, so many amazing people, and learn from so many others, right? And you have these great connections that like eliminate the geography factor. You know what I mean? Like even if you're here in the Philippines, you have connections like everywhere in the world, and it doesn't matter that you're in the Philippines. And then finally, I think it's amazing that you're able to give people the opportunity, like the people in the Philippines, especially our countrymen, right? The opportunity to be able to earn uh, at a level where it's almost as if they're in the US, right? Like it's almost as if they are OFWs or something, like without at the comfort of their own home, right? Like without having to go
Right.
through the painful process of leaving your family behind and all that stuff, right?
Most especially during these times, during the pandemic.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Especially now in the pandemic, like it would still be amazing, even if this were happening before the pandemic. But all the more now, like it's exponentially valuable what you're doing for the people in our country. Um, I just have a couple of questions, and this has been a
Sure.
wonderful interview so far, and your journey is so mind blowing to me, so amazing that I'm so inspired by what you were able to accomplish and what you went through. So going back to where we started, you were a parking attendant, and now, right, like you're helping people, you're living the life that you want. Um, and I think the turning point, right? Like you mentioned this word turning point. And I think that's crucial to understanding what the people that are listening can do for their own lives in case they want to model what happened to yours. Um, I think the turning point, based on your story, was when you decided to quit your job, right? That you were feeling down, and or you're not feeling happy or fulfilled. There was a void, there's an empty spot in your life, and you decided to quit your job. The two questions, I guess, like what were you thinking? And it sounds like when you were telling the story earlier, you didn't really have a backup plan, like a safety net, right? Like, so what were you thinking when you decided to quit your job? And like, how did you make that decision to ask for a job from that client, right? It's so unorthodox and so I guess weird. I don't know that there's people who actually do that. You know, like so it's
Mhm.
not normal in our society to just quit your job without a backup plan and then ask someone directly for any job, like whatever job you can think about, just give it to me. I just want to be part of your team. I just want to be part of your company or whatnot. And I feel like that's the turning point, and that is the turning point it seems. And so what are the things that you can share on those on that turning point for the people that are listening?
Sure, sure. Uh, you know what I've learned in the past many years. I haven't actually told you that during back in college, my mom and I lived on the street because we didn't have money to pay the rent.
Wow.
And that's the time that I realized, because back then I had a lot of dreams. I still have, lots of dreams. But back then, like, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to do this and that. But when that situation hit us, lived on the street, I realized that most of the time we should live on the present, not in the future. And when you ask me about the turning point, I wasn't really thinking about the future. I was really more thinking about what is now, what I'm gonna do now. Um, and I guess that's the reason why I thought of that situation we're in. What is my situation now? Who are the people that I am associated now? And that's why I thought of Marshall and asked him if I can work for him, can be part of his company. And he, fortunately, he said yes. And yeah, I don't know. Um, I had a podcast interview with DJ Manotok, and he always tell me, because he's a good friend of mine, and he always tells me that everything happens for a reason. Like, um I wasn't a big fan of that before, but when I had that interview with him, I've thought of my experiences in life. And yeah, things happen for a reason. This is something that I haven't shared, but when you work for a BPO, you're familiar with hiring managers, right?
Yeah.
In all BPOs that I've worked with, as part of the operations, I always end up become the hiring manager. I always do the final interview. And back then I was thinking, why the heck am I doing the final interview instead of me doing my job that I signed for? And then fast forward, back then, if you're gonna tell me that, hey, Joemer, hey, Ern, one day you're gonna own a recruitment firm, like, I'm gonna laugh. But now I understand that the reason why I was kind of associated with recruiters back then, because one day, um, we're gonna found or we will establish or we will put up a recruitment firm. So yeah, th- those are the turning points. I live in the present. I live on what is now. I still think about the future, and you just have to try. You just have to do it. And I remember what CM Punk said during his interview when he had his UFC debut. Like, if I'm not gonna do it, then I won't be able to do this next time. Like, I have to do it now. And that's the reason why I reached out to Marshall, because whether he say yes or no, nothing's gonna lose. That's still, I still have that situation. It's win-win actually for me saying, like, asking him. So, but
Yeah.
I kind of presented the benefits of hiring me as well. So
Of course, yeah. I mean, you gotta sell yourself, right? Like, from your perspective, it's easy, you know, exactly why you want to work with Marshall, like, or whoever it is that you're about to pitch to. But at the same time, when you make that pitch, you should also be thinking about what is the value that they're gonna get out of doing that, or out of saying yes, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And one factor that I consider is my company sorry, is my value aligned with their company's value, with their value, because my value back then is no longer aligned. And this is one of the, maybe reasons why I pushed myself out of that company. The value that I have is no longer was no longer aligned with, that BPO's company's value. That's why I've decided to quit.
Yeah, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Hey, I'm curious, your podcast, what's that about? Like, how does that play into this entire thing? Yeah, your podcast is making lemonade.
Making lemonades out of the lemons. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh, you know what? In life, we have lots of sour situations, and if you keep them that way, like, they're just gonna be sour. And one of my closest friends told me that sometimes you have to squeeze the sweetness from that sour situation and live with it. That's why. And then she gave me the quote: when life gives you lemons, make some lemonades. And then she told me, it's a if you're gonna have a podcast, why not name it Lemonades of Life. So shout out to BR who gave me that idea.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I think that should be. I think we can call it a wrap. There's just, I guess, one final question that I have for you, and it's really
Sure.
more for the audience. Like, what advice would you give people who are in a similar scenario, right? Who find themselves feeling a bit empty or unfulfilled in their current situations, and like, what advice would you give them? And yeah, actually, what advice would you give them? That's basically it.
Be curious, because I'm not gonna be in this position. Um, like, just think of your, for example, kababata, or maybe high school friends, or like childhood friends, like 5 or 10 of you. How many of your friends, including you, have become curious and achieve that position? I know your position in your current company right now is high, but if you could just think of any 10 people or 10 childhood friends that you can think of, like, how many of you, like, really achieve that, achieve that kind of success that you are experiencing right now?
I think I'm the only one. Like, I have probably the highest. Like, most of my friends from my childhood are also in the BPO industry. but I think I have the highest, like, sort of hierarchical rank when it comes to like ranking in the BPO.
I
So
think we
yeah,
share the same secret. Ask me why.
why?
We saw the payslip. Oh, I mean,
Exactly.
if that didn't happen, like I'm not gonna be curious, right? But my advice is curiosity. Like always seek for wisdom, always seek for learning, and uh, you're gonna reap what you sow. If you're not, if you don't invest like in things where you can learn right now, it's impossible or it's hard for you to really grow, right? To become successful or to become rich, right? And this is a common story for people who came from rags to riches, that they become curious, they put the hard work, and that's just it. There's no actually secrets. It's been obvious that that's the only way to do it, right? But part of being curious is surround yourself with people smarter than you.
So how do you know? Like, follow up questions to that. Like, how did you know that Marshall was the right person to follow? Like, was there a criteria that you had? Because you kind of went all in, right? Like in
Oh
that
yeah,
scenario, you went all in, right? Like, so
he's a college
what?
dropout. He's a college
Okay.
dropout, and um, like he's known now as a as one of the most successful e-commerce founders in the U.S. because I'm a college dropout,
I'm also a college
and
dropout.
right, like it's not really about the educational attainment, and um, that's why I've been wanting to give opportunities to college dropout as well. There's even one part of our community uh ask me like what course did I take in college because of the kind of success that I'm getting right now. She's curious because her sons are in college, so maybe I can give some tips. I took up culinary, and then
You
she asked,
did.
"Oh, nag-graduate ka ba?" Sabi niya, "Ay, hindi po eh, nag-drop out ako." "Oh, why not continue your studies so that parang you can achieve more?" Okay. Yeah, I can we can actually do that. We can continue our studies. It may add a little bit value um right now based on our status, but I'd rather keep myself being a college dropout so that I can inspire more people. That
Yeah,
a fellow college dropout, hey man, hey, if I am able to achieve this, then you can also can. Let's help each
yeah,
other.
agree for sure. And even Elon Musk is espousing, like, Tesla is not hiring. It's hiring mostly college dropouts now. Like, they don't require a bachelor's degree, like, because he believes so strongly that you don't need a college degree to be successful in life. So I
And
completely agree with that. Yeah.
that's what I love about startup companies. They don't look at your educational attainment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's all about it's very it's a 100% meritocracy, right? Where whatever value you give, that's what you're compensated for. So it makes perfect sense. So, Jomer, thank you so much for being here. You're such an inspiration. I appreciate your time. I know it's very valuable, and on a weekend, no less. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I am personally very inspired, and I'm sure whoever listens to this will also feel the same way. Is there any way that me and any of our listeners can support you? Maybe follow you on social media, or follow you online somewhere, or do some things that would help your further success and further um, your mission in life, that sort of thing.
Yeah, you guys can follow me at Joemer Embernate on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And yeah, I'm actually looking forward to launching my season 2 of my podcast and launching another show. Yeah, looking forward to hiring a podcast editor as well. So if any one of you is a podcast editor, feel free to reach out to me via social media.
Hey, if anyone will find it easy to hire that person, it's gonna be you. You own a headhunting
And
firm.
by the way, we have lots of openings right now. For sure, there are a lot of people who may be interested in working remotely. So, just hit me up, and we have openings for customer supports, virtual assistants, project managers, marketing associate, developers, graphic designers. Yeah, we're hiring almost we're feeling a lot of roles. So yeah, we want to extend that opportunity to you guys as well.
Awesome, man. I love what you're doing. I love that you're giving value to the Philippines by offering these jobs, and it's amazing. I hope that you grow, like personally in your personal life, and even in your company, especially in your company, because you're helping a lot of people. Thank you again so much, Jomer. I appreciate you. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, John.